The day that you get to drive a little red number from here to here, be prepared to be amazed by hundreds of languages and dialects, because in Italy, one thing is for sure: the way they speak at the welcome sign is not the way they speak at the goodbye sign.
Io porto il cacciucco, ovviamente. Io porto un po' di pappa al pomodoro. Io porto un po' d'acqua, vai.
Soy Naseo, Aini Weinegar.
Il pasticcio non è un pasticcio nel senso il casino o oddio ho fatto un pasticcio.
Ma ho cantato in una maniera che la Madonna alla fin pianto.
Venetian is a beautiful language spoken in Venice, Verona, and all over the Veneto region, stretching from Belluno to the south side of Trentino and to all of these neighbors. It has a lovely nickname, Dialetto del Mar, language of the sea. And once upon a time, it was the most prestigious lingua franca of the Med, one of them anyway. You'll probably even recognize these Venetian words, but even if your Italian is already quite good, Venetian can be a totally different kettle of fish. If you've ever been to Venice, you might have noticed, for example, that the street signs don't say via, they say calle, and the way people chat is a little different to standard Italian. Thing is, Venetian is a language, not a dialect, and it even has its own written form. There are lots of varieties, and you might even think it sounds a bit like French or Spanish, not to mention all of that Latin, Greek, and Arabic influence.
Mi passato do municipio lì, sciacciasso
do municipio.
Che vedi che qualche
Right next door is the Ligurian dialect, a Gallo-Italic language from the coastal region of Liguria, and it's one of the most recognizable dialects of northern Italy. Interestingly, there is quite a bit of Ligurian in Monaco too. That is right, Monegasque is one of the dialects. A big feature of Ligurian is L sounds like R, and R just, but it kind of disappears. For example, the word caro is pronounced cao. Quite cool, huh?
Per parlare senese è importante l'impostazione, che deve essere sobria, rigida, arcigna.
Lo senti in belì? Red! Non te nanà, che anche ho mie donne in ta televisione.
Francamente, me ne batto belì.
And now this is the most important variety, which you will hear in Genoa.
Mi ricordo con mio fratello era in boccia.
Se parlava da una parte all'altra la frontiera, se parlava casi stesse, allora.
If you are elderly in Piedmont, you'll probably know this language, but I hear it's not quite so popular with young people. Mind you, that is probably true of many dialects.
Ciao a tutti, mi chiamo Michael e mi parlo Lombard perché la mia lingua è più importante delle ideologie politiche.
Pota lo dici fra quando si ascolta.
Pota lo dice fra quando si ascolta. Pota lo dice frat quando si ascolta. Pota dice frat e la ascolta.
You could guess this one, come on. This is the Lombard language from Lombardy, which happens to include the prestigious Milanese. I mean, it is Milan, and aside from high fashion, Milan also has some really important 13th century literature. Lombard is actually considered a minority language that is structurally separate from Italian. Some Swiss people even speak it too, which is quite cool. If you agree and you're enjoying this video, I would absolutely love your support by clicking and subscribing and turning on those notifications as well, because we have a lot more videos like this coming very soon.
Lei un coel che boneca capite. Classila tu strea, o e tu viol. Forse lei un po' come in tal fuol.
Ma non avevo paura, ma spendi chi tu vuoi.
Ma quando vuole spendere la buona, spendere che buona.
Ma sai, non aver paura, spendi tu buono.
Okay, here we have two closely related languages, Emilian and Romagnol. Romagnol is the most well-known of the two, and it comes from the Adriatic coast, whereas Emilian comes from Bologna, Modena, Carpi, and the surrounding areas, and couldn't even count all of its dialects. If you want a good reason to learn Emilian and also happen to love Ferraris, well, here's a fun fact. The founder of Ferrari spoke an Emilian dialect.
Via la vaccia, via il vadel, che vuol dire una parte di mezzo, poi di mezzo anche l'altra parte. Io sono belaud long giang, che sono con gente che giang.
In the Italian Dolomites, people speak multiple languages: Ladin, Italian, German, English. They grow up learning all of these at school, and amazingly, Ladin is so important to these Italians that they consider Italian a foreign language. And if you think the name Ladin sounds like it comes from Latin, well, it does. It originated in very isolated, remote mountain areas and was influenced by a pre-Roman Alpine language called Raetic, not to mention Latin, Italian, and German. And so, yes, Ladin is a language, not a dialect, but apparently it changes from valley to valley. Are we even a little bit surprised? Of course we're not. And it has one very close relative.
Allora, è abbastanza difficile trabalhar para Furlan in questa situazione perché è una situazione particolare.
Do these words look Italian to you? Well, Friulian is a language from northeast Italy, and there are 4 dialects of Friulian, and it even has some unexpected influence. Slovenian. Kids who go to school around here are growing up bilingual because teaching the traditional language is taken very, very seriously. Good work.
Altro da dire, sono contenta di vivere qua. Nel Trentìn si sta bene, come vi ripeto, si mangia bene.
Me lo guarda a distanza con una beretta dell'anno in testa e che fa qua padre, ma il quell'asto artista, sì, sì.
Here's another dialect carrying ghosts of the Germanic tribes. Trentìn is spoke in and around Trentino and is influenced by its neighbours Ladin and Venetian. By the way, with many of these varieties, the line between language and dialect can be so fuzzy that people will not agree. Problem is, Standard Italian is itself influenced by surrounding dialects. So in the end, how can you tell what's a dialect of Italian, what's a dialect of another Italian language, and what's a dialect of a dialect? You get the idea. Tuscany is one of Italy's most beautiful regions, and you'll hear the Tuscan dialect in Florence, Lucca, Pisa, the Umbria region, and even on the islands of Sardinia and Corsica. I don't know whether I should be pronouncing these words in Italian or English. You're just going to have to work with me on this one. And there's something intriguing about the way that they speak. Tuscan is pretty famous because they substitute the hard C, the hard K sound, with a breathy sound. So for example, the word for ant, formica, is pronounced formija. It's called the Tuscan throat, and you should see what they do to their verbs. Anyone know what the most famous variety of Tuscan is? I'm talking about the dialect that Italian is based on.
Firenze è straordinaria, è arte, è struttura. Tu scendi, tu guardi, tu vedi, tu fai, ci sono gli uffizi.
Yes, it is Florentine, the dialect of Florence. Intrigued? Well, you can hear that amazing origin story in this video right here.
Ma che todo da di, che to si to manna di, si todo da di. Oh. Allora che se annai a tornare, ma che sa se l'allero casa fai?
Che cazzo c'entra la capoccia? Che setta l'elemosina?
Che cazzo c'entra la semosina?
Che cazzo c'entra la capoccia?
La capoccia?
Capoccia is your head.
Ok.
Testa.
Capoccia.
Capoccia.
Testa.
Now, if you want a bit of sass in your Italian, well, you will find it in Rome, believe you me. Romanesco is one of the central Italian dialects from the metropolitan city, especially in the center. It's a lot like Tuscan and Standard Italian, but has some notable differences in spelling and pronunciation. The rule in Rome seems to be drop any vowels at the start of a word and double any consonants. And apparently, these Roman city kids don't roll their R's. If you're from Rome, is this true? The south of Italy is where most of the regional languages are spoken. So if you like a bit of a walk on the wild side, maybe the south is for you.
L'abruzzese non è una lingua che tu puoi imparare alla scuola, quindi per esempio io non le posso scrivere. Le parli soltanto perché le parlevo quando eri piccerello e non.
Abruzzo is home to some rare living species, and it's also home to a few rare living Italian dialects. In L'Aquila province, there is one called Calascino. Want to see how it compares to Italian? Check it out.
La seconda lingua più parlata in Italia dopo l'italiano è il napoletano, la lingua della città di Napoli, della regione Campania e di buona parte, nelle sue varianti, del sud Italia.
È bella friccicarilla assai, piena di gente, popolare, costumata e friccicarilla.
Time to go big. Here is a language that you will hear in, of course, Naples, or in your own country if you love Italian music, because Neapolitan music is pretty successful around the world. The language is interesting because unlike Italian, they use a very flat sound like the schwa, the in English, like in about. It's not typical Italian at all, and you'll hear it all over the south. Basso Lazio, Abruzzo, Puglia, Calabria. Neapolitan has the most speakers out of all the regional languages. They say it's very difficult to understand, maybe because of its Greek origins, or perhaps it's the Spanish, French, and Arabic influences. I don't know, but you hear a lot of cut-off words, like how they say brothers and sisters, for example, and the word for now comes straight from Latin.
E voglia mettere rum, chi nasce strunzo non diventa papà.
And if you want more of that, go and check out the Italian TV series Gomorra. Finally, we are now at the bottom of the boot. This is the extreme south of Italy, the tips of Calabria and Apulia, Salento, and other stunning places.
bottana d'inverno che ha detto Daphne, c'ha tutto o compare cantuia con il persecchetto dell'olio o portocongelo con suo compare cantalonzelo con tu congelo con bonzolo.
In Calabria, they speak Italian, regional varieties of Neapolitan, and the so-called extreme Southern dialects, all collectively known as Calabrian. And all of these dialects came directly from Vulgar Latin, by the way, not from Tuscan.
La carota, carrot. L'insalata, nzalut, zalatu. La Ferrari, a Ferrari. Guarda, sono dei codici fiscali, sono questi qua.
We can't leave out the heel of the boot, possibly, can we? The two biggest dialects of Apulia come from the city of Bari and from the Salento region. What do you think of these expressions from Bari? I love this very common phrase in Salentino, l'usule, l'umare, l'uiento, which means the sun, the sea, the wind. Basically the Salentino version of don't worry, be happy. It's beautiful. And you're going to hear it everywhere. But you won't hear it in your Italian Uncovered course because, well, we teach standard Italian in our courses so that you can speak and be understood everywhere you go in Italy. And if you'd like to know how to learn Italian with stories, well, you should grab your free Story Learning Kit, which is a collection of masterclasses, resources, printouts to help you learn Italian the fun and natural way. It's completely free. Link, as always, in the description.
Se mi fai parlare, infatti... Io volessi a capire, compa. Qualcuno prima o poi me la va a dire, perché chi stanno più cantare non sempre più culo, compa. Mi fai una... Se non mi interrompi... Oh, compa, che disse? Palla, non si può dire niente, picciotte me.
Sicilian is the main language of Sicily, and you will hear it in parts of Calabria and the Aeolian Islands. It's also the second most widely spoken language in Italy. It all began around 1200 BC with the indigenous language of the first inhabitants of Sicily. And it might even be the very first language to develop from Latin. But Sicily had many conquerors, Arabs, Spaniards, Vikings, and they all played a part in shaping the language. So how Italian are Sicilians?
How do you say, would you like to dance with me?
Vuoi ballare con me?
Ciaballi con mia?
And did you know Sicilian has no future tense? If you want to say, tomorrow I'll write to you, you just say, tomorrow I write you. Although a lot of Italians speak like this. Anyway, according to my Italian friends, Sicilian is very hard to understand, but luckily everyone also speaks standard Italian. Of course they do. It's Italy. Just remember, guys, most Italians speak their own dialect, but also standard Italian. So if you want to learn Italian, well, you have absolutely nothing to worry about.
Sardu este sa limba ki mi piace te Abruzzo te totu sa limba sa romanza sa est una limba meta speciale pro mene.
Sardinia is the second biggest island in Italy, right in the middle of the Mediterranean, and this is where you will find Sardinian, the language closest to Latin of all the Romance languages. And thanks to being so isolated from the rest of Italy, Sardinian was well preserved over many centuries. Well, apart from those few influences.
Questa conca alla davvero quello non ci appartiene.
A certain Spanish influence is plural words ending in S, which never happens in Italian. And they're doing something right in Sardinia because more people are making it to 100 than anywhere else on the planet. Which of these languages or dialects did you enjoy the most? And if you happen to know an Italian dialect that we didn't mention here or one that we did mention here, do me a favor, write a little bit of that dialect in the comments below so that we can check it out. And if you want to know how standard Italian was the lucky chosen one, why they chose that and nothing else, well, you should definitely watch this video next because it will reveal the entire story.